Hello, my name is Delilah Cordova, Visibility Creator here at Omnipresence Studios. We expose the world to our interviewees' unique products, services, and books, and we also help in their journey to go from undiscoverable to visible in a digital world. I am currently on a mission to conduct 100 author interviews, and we're talking about all things books, from publishing to new authors, and don't forget, marketing. I would like to welcome you to our show, Marketing and Coffee, where authors come to get inspired and experience. Hey authors, you finished your manuscript. What do you do next? If you would like to learn more about being featured on my show, go to marketingandcoffee.com. And without further ado, meet our next awesome author. Hey everybody, it's Delilah Cordova here, and we are here again with another awesome interview. And today I have with me our David Fulcher, and we're going to be talking about his book, The Lighthouse at Mantuk. I might have said it wrong, because you know Delilah doesn't always get that kind of stuff right, but it's okay because my awesome author, our David Fulcher, is here, and he's going to tell you all about it. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Delilah, and thanks for everyone that's tuning in. I am on today to talk about my book, and I will hold it up for a second. Hopefully everybody can see that. Got a scary lighthouse on the cover and the ocean, and it's the lighthouse at Montauk Point. You were close on the pronunciation, but it's actually at Montauk Point, and it's set on the eastern end of Long Island. And I actually was inspired to write this book when I visited the lighthouse. It's a place with a ton of history. It's past the Hamptons out on Long Island, and was there since the time of the Indians and the settlers. And it's there still in the modern day for you to visit, and it is just an awesome structure on a cliff with a museum attached to it, and all of that is sort of described in the imagery of the book, and as well as sort of a suspense story. So that's what I'm here to talk about today, as well as I have a few other books, all under my pen name are David Fulcher, and this is another one of mine. This is called Blood Spiders and Dark Moon. Kind of a mouthful, but that's another one. This is 14 stories of science fiction and horror. And then I'm also a movie reviewer, so my movies book, this is The Movies That Make You Scream, has movie reviews of horror movies if you're into that. And finally, I wanted to talk today about, I'm the editor of a small press journal called Samsara, and this is what a typical issue of Samsara may look like. And this accepts work from writers all over the world of poetry and fiction and art. So if you're interested in submitting, I'll give you information about that as well today.
Ooh-wee, boy, you write a lot.
I'm prolific, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that one book, it said Blood Spiders.
Blood Spiders and Dark Moon. Yeah, that's quite a title. And this is probably one of the scarier books that I've come up with. So
yeah. So
for your horror fans,
you want to tell us a little bit about that one and the well, first off, let's go back to the lighthouse. The lighthouse at Montauk.
Montauk Point.
Montauk Point. It sounds Canadian to me.
I think it's American Indian, but it's okay.
It's okay. But tell us about that book and about how that book came to be, and how the storyline is a little bit.
Okay, so The Lighthouse at Montauk Point is actually multiple stories. Some of them I'd written way back in college, and some of them are brand new. The feature story is The Lighthouse at Montauk Point, which is a ghost story, and it's about a fugitive that's on the run that takes refuge in the lighthouse while being pursued by the police. Of course, the fugitive has no idea that there's ghosts inhabiting the lighthouse. And to find out more, you'll have to read, but that's kind of the lighthouse at Montauk Point in a nutshell.
Right. And then, so he's a fugitive on the run. Can you tell us about the character a little bit?
Yes, the character is Eduardo Suarez. He's a busboy who assaults a local girl out in the Hamptons, and obviously, he's a very bad guy. So you don't feel bad for Eduardo that he's being pursued or that he's being plagued by these spirits, but he's an evil protagonist, I guess, an anti-hero, and there's a lot of other characters in the book. There's a night watchman. There's some other people. There's the ghost. But the main character, unfortunately, is a rather bad guy. But he's got bad things coming to him, so it's okay.
So it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Well, everybody likes seeing the bad guy get his
Get theirs, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
get there. That karma,
True.
right?
Right.
So what made you choose the setting for the lighthouse of Montauk Point? I got it. Montauk Point.
Okay, I'm gonna answer that, but first I'm gonna take a sip of delicious coffee because it is coffee and authors. So okay, I did my Dunkin' Donuts marketing. So let me talk about the setting. I actually got married on Long Island to my beautiful wife Lisa, and we honeymooned on Long Island. We stayed 5 days after the wedding, and we took a family trip with ourselves and some of the family that were out of the country to the Montauk Point Lighthouse. And I wasn't really expecting much. I'm not typically a follower of lighthouses or their history, but was very impressed by the tour that we got, and just I had a feeling just of history around the structure. So I just, with my writing mind, immediately turned that into a possible setting for a scary story, and that's what led to the lighthouse at Montauk Point.
Right. So with the lighthouse, is there a particular lighthouse that was there?
It's what it is actually called the Montauk Point Lighthouse, and it still stands. It's got, like I said, it's got a museum attached to it. It's got the original lighthouse keeper's cottage, and then it's got the of course the tower itself, and it's still a functional lighthouse. Most of the lighthouses today are automated lighthouses. Montauk's no different, but there used to be a lighthouse keeper that lived there full time.
Right, right. So did you do any research with the lighthouse and bring any of that information into your book?
I did. I studied it primarily online. There's a lot of information on Wikipedia and on Google. If you just Google the lighthouse at Montauk Point or the Montauk Point Lighthouse, you'll hear a lot about it. And the whole area of Montauk, not just the area of the lighthouse, is full of conspiracy theories about the government and underground installations and experiments and zombies and what have you. So the whole area is kind of shrouded in mystery. So the lighthouse is, no pun intended, just sort of the tip of the iceberg there. But it's, and I do have a sequence in the book, sort of a dream sequence where the main character is transported back in time to when the lighthouse was being manned by settlers, and he witnesses an attack by the American Indians on the settlers of the lighthouse. So I pulled some real historical background information into the book as well.
Wow. So you would never know, like when you go and visit places like that, that all it has all that history behind it. You never really know, you know? So that's interesting. That's interesting. And one more time, can you tell us, I believe you said it, but where is it located in?
Okay, it's the easternmost point of Long Island. So if you go out to Long Island and you just keep going east as far as you can, you go through the Hamptons and you'll eventually get to Montauk. And right on the edge of the cliff before you go into the water of the Long Island Sound is the lighthouse at Montauk Point.
Wow.
Can't
Okay.
miss it.
Can't miss it.
That's right.
That's
That's
got
right.
somewhere I got to put on my list of places to go. And first, I got to read
It's a
the
good
book,
one.
and then I got to go visit Montauk Point, and then take
I
pictures.
appreciate it. That would be a good way to do it. So.
Yes. So, with the blood spiders, do you want to tell us a little bit the blood spiders and the long title
Yeah,
one?
the long title, Blood
I'm
Spiders
yeah,
and
that one,
Dark
and
Moon.
Dark Moon.
That one.
I'm interested to
Yeah,
learn a little bit about that one. 'Cause it's such a crazy title. Blood spiders. I'm like, ooh, blood spiders.
yeah, I get
What?
it, and it's a little bit of a crazy book. Yeah, I'm just going to actually read some of the description off the book jacket because I came up with that as a good summary of the book. So, Blood Spiders and Dark Moon contains 14 tales of terror and wonder, from an earth-devouring spider, a forbidden pact with the devil, a golden city across space and time, a night watchman that is much more than he seems, a vengeful janitor, werewolves, werecats, and creatures who travel unseen dimensions. Blood Spiders and Dark Moon takes readers on a hell-bent ride to places they have never been and will never return from unscathed. So that is your scary stuff. I pretty much cover the gamut. If you're a zombie guy, you'll love it. If you're a vampire girl, you'll love it. So whatever you're into that's scary, it's ghost, it's in there. So
And werecats. I don't know what a werecat is. Is it like a werewolf?
it's like a werewolf, but it just happens to be a cat. And we have 5 cats here. I'm surprised none of them have come out if they're hiding to say hello. So we're big cat people. So I had to write about werecats and not werewolves. I apologize to Ed and all the other dog people out there, but that's our thing. So.
So the blood spiders, you say they take over a city?
Well, there's the first story is called The Land Spider, and it's based on visiting my brother who went to UNM, University of New Mexico, and there's an Indian myth about that New Mexico was actually spun by a gigantic spider. So all the rock formations and the mesas came out of a huge spider, and that's how the landscape is so, sort of otherworldly. So I sort of took that Indian myth and inverted it so that there's a huge spider underneath of New Mexico pulling in all of the buildings and people and causing sinkholes. So that's it's not really a blood spider. That's called the land spider, but blood spiders is in the title. There really isn't a blood spider in the book, but there is a land spider. So
I didn't know all
wow.
that.
Yeah. So a lot, I try to, I go to places and I hear about local myths and folklore, and I try to put that into my writing as much as I can.
That's really interesting how you do that. Because now I don't want to go to Mexico. I'm gonna read the book.
Well, it's amazing, if you get out there. So
I know I've got to go, but now I'm gonna go over there like, oh my gosh, I hope there's not a land spider because David Fulcher told me that there's land spiders under the ground.
Right, watch out for sinkholes. Yeah. Watch your step, definitely.
So, if you could tell your younger writing self anything, would it be?
So, what I would tell my younger writing self, because I was very worried about what kind of writer I'm going to be and what are people going to think about my writing, is really be true to yourself, write what's in your heart, and don't worry if it's out there or nobody else seems to connect with it or people say, hey, this is just weird, I don't like it. If it's something's driving you to write that down on paper, go ahead and do it. And sort of to hell with the consequences. And it's your writing, it's nobody else's, it belongs to you. Even if it goes into a drawer and nobody ever reads it, it doesn't make it any less your work and more important to you.
Right. And you got to take out the noise. And a lot of people get caught up, especially like marketing. Everybody knows I do marketing. You got to learn how to take out the noise and do what you enjoy to do, because you have an audience out there somewhere. Everybody has an audience, and they're gonna have those 100 people who they can connect with that are really gonna enjoy what you're doing. So don't think
Yes.
that, the first audience you tried to sell to didn't enjoy your book, or the second audience didn't enjoy your book, but you just keep trying and you keep putting it out there, and do what you enjoy doing as an author, because you never know. Think about it like, David, remember The Great Gatsby? Like when
Yes.
that book was first written, it didn't take off until way later on, in like during the World War II, I believe it was. They gave it to soldiers to read, to get them out of their mindset of being in war, right? So that's when that book took off, and it was way later, and I believe the author had already passed on. So you never know what your stories will bring to the world. Just write them and make it happen,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many stories like that, right? Where like Edgar Allan Poe, pretty much was broke and penniless and died in an alley. And he's something now that, at least to me, was taught in elementary school, and I think is taught universally as one of the fathers of American literature. He wrote the first, not just these scary stories, but he wrote the first detective story on record. He wrote romantic poetry, by the hundreds. So it's, you just never know, and we never know what is going to happen after us. So if we can contribute something to the people that come later and discover our literature, that's a great thing.
Right. So never give up, right? Never give up. Keep authoring
Absolutely.
on. And send that message of hope. Hashtag authors support authors. Right here.
Yes, and that's true whether you're a singer, a dancer, writer, whatever type of artist you are. Yeah, you can never give up on your craft. So.
Right. So David, in what other ways are you involved in the literary community?
Okay, well, I quickly mentioned Samsara, which is my literary journal, and I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of that, almost as much as working on my own work, because I'm getting to review fiction and poetry from all around the world. Some of these people have never been published before, and they're outstanding, and it's a way that I can give back by giving a small platform for other writers to become published.
Right.
So, and Samsara Magazine is online at samsaramagazine.net, and it's just how it sounds, SAMSARA magazine.net, and you can find all the writers' guidelines there. If you're interested in being a submitter or just a subscriber or reader, there's free issues online. There's links to other writer resources. So please do stop by the website and check it out. The other thing that I do is I go to something in Frostburg, Maryland called the Indie Lit Fest, or the Indie Literary Festival, and there I speak on panels on different topics about genre writing, about running the small press, and I also do public readings. So those are some of the ways that I try to be involved in the literary community outside of my own work.
Nice. And, that's great. That, I want to connect with your platform and bring that information onto my site as well. So I'll hit you up later about that. But you guys definitely go check out what he just gave you, because if you can get your information on influencers, on other blog posts, on so many backlink to anything, it's really great in helping to boost the amount of viewers or the amount of reach for your book. So definitely reach out and connect with David for this.
Please do.
So we saw that you showed us all those books, but how many unpublished and half-finished books do you have?
Yeah, I think as a writer, I think you always have kind of that messy drawer of ideas where you jot something down on a napkin or a piece of paper and you throw it in your idea drawer. So I'm not going to call those, books in progress. Those are just ideas, and there's, hopefully that quiet time in my life where I can go back to those one day and flush those out. But I do actually have some more organized files of, books in progress that have maybe a handful of chapters completed and have an outline and just need, a little bit of TLC to become a full published work. So, you know, everybody's dealing with it, right? It's you've got your day job and you've got, sort of what you love to do on the side sometimes, and it's tough to balance that. But hopefully when I get some more free time, I get back to those works in progress.
Right. I feel you on that.
Yeah, yeah, you're a busy lady, I know. So you get it. Feel me. So
Feel you.
yeah.
Anyway, so with that, what would be your advice to new writers?
Well, I got hinted at a little bit before, but just write. There's no right or wrong way to do it. The only thing that will hurt you is refusing to do it because you're afraid or because you're not sure where to start. Put the pen to paper, type on your tablet, whatever your medium is, and just get the words out there. You can revise later, you can proofread later, but just start writing. And as I mentioned before, don't typecast yourself. You know, don't worry about being a horror writer. Don't worry about being a mystery writer. Be a writer first and write and explore as many genres as you're interested in. And you'll be surprised at how prolific you become when you sort of take yourself out of that stereotypical box of being this kind of writer or that kind of writer. So keep an open mind and, put pen to paper. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely make it happen. Just get
Make it
going.
happen.
Do it. Make it happen.
Just Right.
That's my
There
favorite.
used to be a magazine called Just Right, and that was a good title because it was all about that. So,
Just write the darn book.
yeah, exactly.
So I want to learn about you as an author and about your awesome author life and, about your family. So how does your family support your writing career?
Okay, well, first I've got to mention my wife Lisa, who's been awesome, and she basically she's listed as the managing editor on Samsara, which is really her role. She keeps the proofreading and the content editing to me, but she really, makes sure that things happen on time, that letters are sent out to contributors, that our guidelines are up to date, that if we go to a show like the Indie Lit Fest and we have a table, that we have all the flyers and back issues ready for people to pick up and learn about us. So, she's been amazing with supporting Samsara. She's reshares my posts on my books, reads drafts of stories. So, and then my brother, I would probably say my brother Dale really got me started with fantastic fiction because as a kid he would pass down his Lord of the Rings books, and this was back in the 70s, right? So Lord of the Rings, Isaac Asimov, Fritz Leiber, any fantasy or science fiction he was finished with came to me. So he probably didn't know it at the time, but he was a big influence as well in getting me started on this path. So
Nice.
so family's great. They need to be in your corner, or it's very difficult because if they're wondering why you're sitting down writing and you're not doing the laundry, or why aren't you getting the house fixed, they've got to give you that time to write, and my family fortunately gives me that. So I'm very blessed.
That's beautiful. And so shout out to your wife, Lisa.
Shout out to Lisa.
Shout out to Lisa. And it's really critical when, especially as an author, you're like an entrepreneur, and having your family and friends understand that your time is really your time is really how you want to put it, short, because you're trying to focus on building this dream out. You know what I mean? It's difficult. I know it's really difficult to get your family and friends, children to understand that that's what you're trying to do, because to them, sometimes they don't understand, like, oh, wow, you spend all your time doing this and you're not spending as much time with me, And
Exactly.
It's great when it comes to a point where they finally understand, like, okay, this is what you're doing and I'm here, I'm going to support you through it, So yeah, thanks Lisa for helping this awesome author to become what he is today. That's
Thanks, babe. Absolutely.
it. I hope I made my point. I was trying to make a point.
Yeah, I think you're right. And once they realize it's for real and it's your passion, if they care about you, they'll give you that time, and that's been my experience. But if you do it here or there and you really don't apply yourself, you can't blame other people for not taking you seriously. So that's it.
Right,
It's like a lot of other endeavors. It's about effort.
right. So, what other authors are you friends with, and how did they help you to become a better writer too?
Well, locally here, I'm friends with Ed Ellers, who you had on previously on one of your interviews as the author of Lily and Lucy, an Easter
Yep.
story. And
Oh, and the puppies, and he supports some, I can't remember the association up there, but yeah, make sure you guys don't throw away your animals, and to make sure that if you cannot keep them anymore, to find the proper outlets to do that at Ellers.
exactly, I think it's the Lost Cat and Dog Foundation or
That's
Rescue Foundation. I'm sorry, Ed, if we got it wrong, and that's really what Ed has shown me is that your writing can actually have a social cause behind it. And
right,
that was new for me because a lot of my writing is, I guess you'd call it escapist fiction, where you're talking about vampires or zombies, and you don't really think about leveraging that into a cause. But one very interesting example is, because he gave me more of a social consciousness, is the Red Cross had something called Books for Blood, and it was basically a fundraising effort that benefited the Red Cross, and where vampire authors had to come up with some original works and were basically sold to raise money for the Red Cross. And I joined part of that event, and obviously gave my words to them freely. And it's great to be able to do something you love and also help out a little bit. So, and I
right.
think Books for Blood last year raised almost $20,000. So it was it's an effective it was an effective event. So, so I've learned
Wow.
from Ed the power of the social cause, and there's a young guy named Michael Thompson who's a fantasy writer. He wrote The World of Orb, and he's working on some other books. And I've been at some shows with him, and he is just Mr. Promotion. I think that's what I've learned from him. He gets out there, and any passerby, when he's at the table, he pulls them in. He's got his speech ready. He's got his bookmarks ready. He's got his poster. You know, he closes the sale. So he's the penultimate, salesman, and I need more of that. So I think I've learned about marketing and sales from Michael Thompson. And finally, not to leave them aside, there's Raw Dog Screaming Press. If you haven't heard of Raw Dog Screaming Press, you should check them out. They publish bizarre fiction, they call it, and the editors are local. They're in Hyattsville, Maryland. It's John Lawson and Jennifer Barnes. They're both accomplished writers in their own right, but if you want to read some really interesting independent books, you should check out Raw Dog Screaming Press. So
Nice.
that probably rounds out the local authors that I'm friendly with, but always looking to meet more. So.
Beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, guys, you guys will make sure you go and connect with David Fulcher here. And David, language, words at that, they have so much power, because your words and what you read and everything, it creates thoughts, and it affects the mind in such a powerful way. So it's a really great idea, how the Red Cross came up with their idea to bring the authors in to help them to, bring in more donors. You guys have to think about that when you're marketing, is how your words are going to psychologically affect the type of reader that you want. And, because they have so much power. Language has so much power. So
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that when you said it, 'cause that's what came to mind. Yeah. And it also is like around the fourth law of attraction. It helps you, what you're focused on and what you're doing right now is what's going to bring you whatever you're trying to gain. Whether it be negative or positive or whatever, that's what your words will influence that and your thoughts. So I think this question here might be a little redundant, but tell me about your books and other writing projects.
All right. Well, I think I've covered my books pretty well. So I'm going to talk about my online series. There's a platform called Chanillo. I don't know. It's CHANNILLO.com.
Chanillo.
Subscription-based publishing platform. And I've got 3 series on Chanillo right now. I've got one that's called Vlad the Conqueror, about the historical Dracula. I've got one called Honey, which is about a young woman that becomes obsessed with a couple traveling on a road trip and sort of starts stalking them. So Honey is kind of like one of these Lifetime movies or something, so you may like to read that. And then the third one is called The Extraterrestrial Toilet, and this is kind of my sci-fi spoof. Yeah, it's purposely has a comedic title, and it's basically something like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where you've got an alien and a human guy, Larry and Nitix, and they just kind of are thrown around the galaxy on these random adventures. And there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek, a lot of puns, and it's basically my attempt at writing humor for comedy. So Chanillo.com is a subscriber basis. I think it's $4.99 and per month, and it lets you just subscribe up to 10 series for that, and there's no switching cost between series. So whether you check out my series or any, you might like Chanillo just because you got a lot of flexibility, and you'll see a lot of work that isn't in the mainstream. So
nice. So I have a question for you since we're talking about sci-fi.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh.
Right.
I've got to go Star Wars. I'm sorry.
Ah! No,
Sorry.
you see my shirt? My shirt's like a Star Trek type.
Yeah. You've got a Federation shirt on, I see, but yeah, that's I think it's what you when I was a kid, I saw the first Star Wars on the big screen, and I think once you have an experience like that, the old Star Treks were great with Kirk and everything, but you can't get over those silver screen moments in your life. So I think that set me on the Star Wars path, unfortunately. And if you look at my Gmail account, I've got Boba Fett as my avatar there. So it's Star Wars all the way. I'm sorry. But, great question. Thank you.
I don't know if we could be friends now.
Well,
I'm playing.
Live long and prosper. I'll say that. How about that? I can't do the sign, but yeah. There you go. You got it. Yeah.
I am a Trekkie to the day that I die, y'all. Star Trek.
Yeah.
Okay, I knocked my camera off.
Hey. I don't turn down any Trek episodes. I'm just saying.
I love Star Trek.
Much
Anyway.
respect.
All right. So we're actually coming up on the end of our interview. I'm checking the time here. Yep. So with that being said, I want you to tell people where they can learn more about you and your work at. I know you mentioned a lot of websites, but to sum it up here for people.
Okay. I'll recap, especially online, where you can find me. First of all, everybody knows Amazon. So if you just search R. David Fulcher on Amazon, you'll find my books there, including The Lighthouse at Montauk Point, which also is the only one I think that has a Kindle edition. So if you're interested in reading on Kindle, you can find The Lighthouse at Montauk Point under R. David Fulcher on Amazon. I also have an author's site at authorsden.com/R. David Fulcher, and that has a bunch of free stories, articles, and also has purchase links to the books that we've talked about. And Samsara Magazine is at samsaramagazine.net. So those are the primary ways, and all of these sites are, cross-linked. So if you get to one, you'll probably find the breadcrumbs to the other. So
Nice, nice. So I want to thank everybody who has came through and watched the video. For those who are just now joining or you're just catching the end of this, make sure you hashtag replay. Let me know that you watched it. If you have any other questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below as we check our, we're constantly checking for our comments throughout the day. And, as always, let's share the live, like the live, and let's try to get this to reach out as far as we can to help our author. So with that being said, I had one announcement, and that is, I should have said it at the beginning, I don't forgot, but my YouTube channel is going to be launching next week. The first, we already have one video uploaded onto YouTube, and that was with C. Marshall Turner. But next week, starting on the 5th, we're going to be having daily content of videos. So past videos are going to be uploaded onto YouTube, and they're going to be repurposed and edited and all that. So it's really awesome. So I need everybody to go over to YouTube and subscribe and check it out. So,
absolutely, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So
That's
with
cool.
that being said, David, thank you so much for coming on.
Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to receive our notifications.